Hey guys, this is Kamna Jain from Team Digital Deepak. And in today's video, let us have a quick overview of, how can you get started with choosing your domain name, hosting, how can you connect them, and how can you finally set your WordPress blog there? And how can you proceed further to, actually end with activating your Search Console analytics and connecting them and everything that you need to know about your WordPress assignment. So let's get started with the very basics. I'll go ahead and share my screen. First things first, if you've seen your assignment worksheet, understand that only question numbers 2, 9, and 10 are compulsory. It's optional for you to answer rest of the questions. But that being said, we'll actually come back to the worksheet a little later. Right now, I've made a cheat sheet for you, which actually becomes like, your guide for this assignment. So when we talk about, the different factors of domain and hosting, we'll talk about these a little later, because first of all, I want you to understand what domain is, what hosting is in very basic terms. And then, we'll think of the technicalities per se. Now, before I go ahead, let me share, a quick document with you. Just give me 1 second. Yeah. So if you see here, I've just made this diagram so that, you're very clear as to what a domain is and what a hosting is. So when you think of the name of a website, that is what the domain is, as simple as it gets. But if you think about it, just the name is not enough, because every website has its own name. But every time you visit a website, each website or blog is different. And it is essentially different because a blog or a website has content. And because each blog or a website has content, you know that, if there is a name, there is going to be content. So going forward, you should think that, hey, this website has its name, but where does it store all of its content? How can, it have the space to really have its blogs, its images, its videos? That is where hosting comes into the picture. So that's why the name of your website is the domain, and the space basically where, you can actually store your website is what a host does, is what a hosting company does. And that is exactly why you go ahead with a hosting service. Let me know if everything is clear up till this point. Great. Now what really happens is there are two things which can happen. There are service providers who will give you the domain and the hosting together. So in that case, you don't need to worry, because the name and the space, they are both already connected. But the way things work is you can have your name with somebody else, and you can like rent the space from somebody else, and the space here being hosting. In that case, what happens is there is a gap. The domain name is with somebody, and the space that you're renting, which is your hosting, is with somebody else. Now the problem is, how do you connect these two? Now, to connect these two, there obviously needs to be a common link, right? If there is a rope, and the rope is like, torn into two bits, you need to like have a common point. You need to tie a knot so that, they can be connected. Just that way, there is something called name servers. Okay. So let me give you a quick overview that, there are two things. If, you have seen things, what happens is there's something called DNS, which is, the domain naming system, and there is something called name servers. So if I have to tell you in one line, name server is one of the types of DNS. What this means is, apart from name servers, there are other types of DNS also, which I don't want you to worry about right now. Right now, I just want you to get started. And that's exactly why I just want you to think of name servers. So going back to our problem statement here, where we wanted to know if my domain is with somebody else and my hosting is with somebody else, how do I actually connect them? To connect them, you need something called name servers. So this is what name servers are. Let me know if you are clear up till this point. Awesome. I'm going to take you back to my other screen once again. Because I will now go ahead. So understand one thing, that if your domain and hosting are together, there is no need of name servers because they are already connected. But if things are separate, that is when we need a common point, and the common point, which is our savior and something which allows us to connect, is a name server when we talk about domain and hosting. So that much is clear. So let's further break it down, that when you buy a domain and hosting from different places, you will have one account with the domain company, one account with your hosting company. There is also something called cPanel, which I will tell you about. But at this point, just remember, whenever we talk about cPanel, and if you need to ever think who gives you the cPanel, just remember the host. Just remember this much. Now I will take you dive, and we'll dive into a live example. So let me take you to namecheap.com first of all. So here, if you can see, I'm going to give you an example of two things, okay? The first example is where, for example, you would buy the domain and hosting from the same service provider, which is Namecheap. So you click on this link over here, and of course, we wait for the website to load. Once it does, we check out the hosting plans. So if you want to first just check for a domain, you can just go to the domain bit and search for the name there. And whatever the domain name you want to find, like say for example, DDIP, batch, just for example, let's search if it is available. If we make a quick search, it will tell us whether it is available, what are the TLDs, which means the top level domain, that is .com, .in, whatever is available. So we can see that, ddipbatch.com is available. If I wanted it, I can just add it to my cart, and then I can either just choose to buy the domain. But in this case, we are taking it as an example where we buy the domain and hosting both from here. So we'll also go to the hosting. Just assume that you have added the domain to cart. Or I'll show you another thing which you can do with Namecheap. Say, for instance, you go with the Stella plan and you click on Get Started. As you proceed here, you will notice that if you choose a new domain name and you choose a new purchase, so if you choose something like, say, once again, DDIP batch, there are some top level domains which you can get for free for the first year. If you see there's a renewal price, of course, that will be there. But if I just choose DDIP batch.fun, it shows 0.00 rupees for the first year. So you can use a free domain like this and you can click on connect to hosting. Then ideally what you have to go ahead is, just, go and make the normal purchase as you do and enter all the details. They give you a Whois guard. That's good. I don't recommend that, you buy SSL certificate, because for the first year, Namecheap already gives it to you for free. This is just something I had added earlier. Once you have, checked everything here, that, yeah, this is your hosting. This is the Whois guard, which comes with your domain. And this is your domain. You can click on confirm order and you can just go ahead, make the payment, and everything will be there in your account. And how you can access your account is, once you make the purchase, first of all, what's going to happen is you will receive, some emails from your service provider. Now understand, whichever service provider you choose, they will always send you, some email or the other. Now the final important email which is required is this, where they will send you all the hosting details, that, okay, this is the hosting plan, this is the date I purchased it on. This is how, like, if I want to tell you for Namecheap, I can just tell you the website. But if you ever want to log in to any time to any service provider's account, you just need to, check the email. They will obviously give you how you can access everything. So this is that particular link where, I can see that, okay, I have a hosting, I have a domain. And apart from that, this is where the name servers are. We will get to this in some time, because right now, tell me one thing. Since we have purchased, like, for example, the domain and hosting from namecheap.com, do we need to update the name servers anywhere? Just tell me with a quick yes or no. Brilliant. Exactly. We don't need to, because they are in the same place, but they still give us the information. And going further, as I told you something about cPanel, you can see they have given you the link and the details here as well. And other things are just for your information. So once you're done with the purchase, you get this information. And let us log into the account now and just see what happens. So if you see, here's your dashboard, and it will give you the details of your domains. So don't go by my dashboard, because I have added some other things, and etc, etc. So if you just go to your domain list, here's where you'll see the list of your domains. And yeah, you can see that these are some of the domains I had purchased and linked. That's why it's available here for you. Ideally it will just show here. And what I am going to do in this video as we proceed forward is that I will set up a live WordPress blog for this let's get real.in, because right now let's just go to let's get real.in and see what it shows us. So if we see, it doesn't show us anything. But today in this webinar, in this call, in this video, we will actually set things up. So that is what will guide you as to how you have to proceed. And for now, let's take a pause and go back to the second scenario in our example where we want to buy a domain from a different website and a hosting from a different website. So in this example, we will choose a domain from name.com and a hosting from namecheap.com. Okay, so let's go to name.com. That's another website which is used to just get domains per se. So if you want my opinion on a general basis, what I have seen, name.com and namecheap.com, these are the two good sources for domains, and that's what I would suggest. And talking about hosting, I would recommend that if you're somebody who's in the beginner stage, you can go ahead with if you're a beginner, for you, Hostinger and Namecheap. These are two good options. I would any day prefer Namecheap, but if you would like to make a small investment, then you can get started with Hostinger. Apart from that, if you are planning on building a good website for which you want like high speed, fast speed, go ahead with A2 hosting. And if you are absolutely okay and you are serious about your blogging journey, with your eyes closed, go ahead with WPX hosting. And there's also one article which, as I told you some time back, wherein I have explained what are the different features, right? When you talk about hosting, what is it that each criteria actually means. So this is the link which I'm going to share, and it actually defines different factors which you can see, like while you're considering purchasing a hosting, like the number of websites you can host, number of subdomains, databases, and I have gone ahead and explained those in detail. So this is pretty much it. And when you need to check, obviously make sure you have a SSL certificate. Try to go for databases which is at least more than one. Choose at least 3 databases, because as you advance in your journey, you will learn about subdomains, and that's when databases will be helpful for you. And yeah, pretty much look at the storage as well, and obviously look at the number of websites which a plan allows you to host. It's always best that with one hosting you try to go for multiple websites, because if you want to experiment, you go get some client projects, you can always host them with a plan which you already have. So that's a bit about choosing the right domain and hosting provider. Now coming back to a live example where we get the domain from name.com. So say we go to name.com and we look for the same domain name here. Yes. Let's look for the domain name here once again. And as we come here, we see that it's available. So ideally, you would have added this to cart, obviously, and it would have allowed you to create an account. But let's assume you have purchased it. So after you purchase it, you will log in. And once you log in, you will see that, you have all your domains which you purchase available over here. So let me just, go to my domains right now and assume that we purchased it, but I have this already. So it's the same thing. Just assume we bought it right now. Now this is my domain, and just assume that we bought the hosting over here. So if we just go to our product list, here we can see that this is the hosting that we have purchased. Now tell me in the chat box, where do you think that, what should we do now? What is the one thing that actually connects our domain and hosting? Just think at this point. Yep. What is the first thing that comes to your mind? As soon as you want to connect domain and hosting, yes, name server. Brilliant. Now, I have added a statement here which will allow you to remember things about a name server. So in the case, right, when your domain and hosting are from different places, so in that case, you will have these accounts. And when you have these accounts, just remember the name server is always provided by the host company. So you already remember that cPanel is provided by the host company. Now you also remember that it's always the host company which will give you the name servers, and it will always be in the domain company's account that you need to update the name servers. And once you have done that, we will see how to install WordPress as well. So tell me now, we have a domain on name.com, we have a hosting on namecheap.com. Who will give me the name server details? Name.com or namecheap.com? Namecheap, right? Exactly. And if you see over here in the email which Namecheap sent me, they have given me the name server details over here. And if I also want to find it, more often than not, if you cannot find it yourself on the dashboard, you can always use the search option, and you can just search for something like name server and just go through the search articles. If you think that is an issue, click on the chat with a live support option and ask them, hey, where can I find the name servers, because I want to connect a domain to my hosting services which I have bought. And if you see, some article here will also give you the details about the name server. But ideally, you'll always find it in your email. So you can see that if you have a shared hosting plan and you want to point your domain to our hosting via our name servers, here are the details. So next question is, what do you do with these name servers? You run right back to your domain, service provider, and you click on wherever you are, and you try to find an option which will either say, so this, I want to tell you right now that this is something which will vary. As far as I remember, in GoDaddy, they will say update DNS. They will not say name servers. So just keep in mind that, if you see the option name servers, you obviously want to update that. But just in case you cannot see it, my advice to you is, number one, Google it. How can I update my name servers in name.com? How can I update the name servers in godaddy.com? Because each service provider will have it under a different option and, as a different name. But as long as your concept is clear, if you want to check on Google or with the support person, this is the term that you need to look for. So anyway, for name.com, what we would do is we would come here, we would click on manage name servers. Ideally, you would, delete these two particular, I would say, name servers which are already there. And once you come here, what you have to do is come back here, choose this, the first name server, click here and just click on add. And once you do that, it will get replaced. Similarly, take the second name server and update it here and just save it. Sometimes this process takes some time for, the connection to happen. And I'll also show you that just in case that, your domain was on namecheap.com and your hosting was somewhere else. So if you had to find the, domain, the name servers bit on namecheap.com, I'm just reversing the scenario. You would just go to your domain list and whichever domain you're trying to connect, right? Let me take you to the product list, in fact, not the domain list. Yes. So here, when we check our, let me just get the domain names. Give me 1 second. So there's an option called manage, which should ideally come. Okay, it's here. Let me just move the chat box here. So once you click on manage, it takes you to this list, right? Here you can see my dashboard. And in this place right now, since, I'm using Namecheap hosting, it's connected to Namecheap web DNS hosting. But if I wanted to update the name servers from somewhere else, I would choose custom DNS and I would just add my name servers here. And voila, that is something that would connect my domain and hosting. So let me know, guys, are we now clear? And if you have a different service provider, just find the particular option under, their service provider. But this is the concept. And if you get this, you know what you need to do irrespective of the service provider you have. And always remember that if one important factor I recommend when you are choosing your hosting or your domain, especially your hosting, choose a service provider which provides you with live chat. I've used Namecheap. WPX is out of question. They literally reply to you in 1 second. Okay, that's the speed WPX has. After that, I would grade A2 hosting because they are also equally fast. In fact, I can rate Namecheap and A2 hosting at a similar place when it comes to their support, because even Namecheap has like live support. Hostinja personally I have not used, so I cannot really comment on that. Yep. So now we will move to our further process. And here we will see how do you install WordPress. So I have also made this checklist for you. So you can see that, you can just check, and, just check this as well. And yes, now let me just take you to the C panel. Here's where the C panel comes in. Of course, if you try these credentials, they will not work because, I have updated the password. But yeah, ideally, this is where it will show you. And in case it does not show here, let me also take you to the Namecheap dashboard. And here, when we actually go to our hosting plan, you can also log into cPanel from here, basically. Yes. So there are two ways for you to log into cPanel. In fact, there are multiple ways. If so, right now we are doing it for let's get real.in, right? So if I also type let's get real.in/cPanel, so if my provider is giving me a cPanel, generally this link will work. As you saw, we went in from the Namecheap dashboard. We can do that. And thirdly, we'll also be having the details on our email. So via any of these methods, which works best for you, just try to, go ahead and log into cPanel. Now, what is cPanel? cPanel is the back, I can say like a back dashboard to a lot of things that you need to do with related to, your website per se. So there's an important point of difference I would like to explain at this point. Yes, control panel, exactly. So at this point, I want you to understand that there are two things. There's something called WordPress.org, and there is something called WordPress.com. So WordPress.com is, a place where you can also have their own hosting and, have a paid website. But I don't recommend that. Reason being because a lot of plugins don't work. It becomes difficult to run ads. So always go for WordPress.org. Now, how do you activate WordPress.org? You need to come to your cPanel. And as soon as you come here, search for this option called, WordPress by Softicalicious, or, something on these lines, WordPress Manager. So you need to click here. Okay. And just make sure, number one, you do this step after your domain and hosting have been, activated and configured. So anyway, you need to come here. And as soon as you come here, you are going to now install WordPress. So to do that, you saw I clicked on the install button. And yes, another important point. So Namecheap gives us a SSL certificate, which is why it's showing me this option for HTTPS as well. So if your service provider is giving you this HTTPS thing, always choose HTTPS. In case it is not activated, and how can you get an SSL certificate otherwise for free? We will discuss this in the course of the video. But for now, just remember, if it is showing HTTPS, always choose that. And here you can see it is showing me different options. That's because I have added more domains to my hosting plan. But for you, just choose the website which you have configured right now, and always leave this blank. If you add something, your WordPress will get installed in a directory. And right now you don't want to, break your head into that. So just remember, leave this blank. You can add a site title here. Like, let me just type, let's get real community. Whatever, right? I'll just type something. And here you need to give a username. So I'm just, I've written my name, but it's generally a good idea to never leave it. Actually, I realized this later. Earlier, even I would leave it at admin. But to prevent hacking, it's always a good idea to give a random username, which you can, sort of, it's not very easy to crack. So, something on those lines. And of course, I'm going to set a password here. Not strong enough. Okay. It has to be minimum 80. So let me just give me 1 second. Okay, great. Yes. Now admin email ID, always add a primary email ID which you can access. Classic editor is something which, was the way WordPress would work earlier. So if you want that, you can choose that. W3 Total Cache is a good plugin. It allows you to really clear the cookies and, things like that on your website. There's also something called theme. If you want, you can choose it at this stage. Otherwise, you can choose it at a later stage as well. And finally, also, enter a primary email ID where your installation details will go ahead. So just give it some time. I'll also turn off my video at this point so that, this process actually becomes a bit faster. And let's take it forward from here. So as you can see that, there are two links which come over here. The first one is my website link, which, just got installed, and you can see that, okay, wow, at least now there is something. So that feels good for sure. And this is your WordPress backend. Now, everything you change in the WordPress backend will have an effect directly on your website. So going forward, all the work that you will do will be on your, WordPress backend dashboard, and all the changes will reflect here. So let me go ahead and close the other screens, which we do not need right now. So let me check. And yes, let us also go to our ultimate checklist. So we have, logged into cPanel. If you're using Hostinger, you will have hPanel. We installed WordPress. Now, before I go ahead, let me know, are you guys all clear, good to go until this point? Brilliant. Now we will do a walkthrough of, once you have set up WordPress, how do you make it better? This is very exciting. Just, pay attention and enjoy. That's all I can say. So first of all, I will run you through some settings. So let's go to general settings first of all. So if you saw the title which I write, okay, if you just keep the cursor on the top part of your tab, you see that the title and the tagline are visible here. So that's the use case of your title and tagline. In case, when you were creating your blog and installing WordPress, you didn't know what to write and you wrote something, you can always come back here and re-edit it, right? So you just come here and, include the title, the tagline, change it anytime. Now, if you remember, when we were installing the website as well, there are two options. There's something called www version, and there's something called just, this version, like I can either have my website as https let's get real.in, or I can have it as https www.letsgetreal.in. But here everybody at Team Digital Deepak, and based on what we have seen, we've always preferred and given preference to https / the domain name. So that's why I have kept it like this. But if you would like to change it, here's where you can come and change it. But this is my recommendation, stick to this. Like, this is what I would say. Now, coming, going forward, you can see, yes, English as a language is fine. Let's check. Okay. US. Now, this is very, very, very important that you come and set the time zone, right? So for us at India, it will be UTC plus 5:30. Make sure you choose that, right? Other options are up to you, how you would like to modify that. Looking at the writing settings, there's not much you need to change here. So I will say just keep it untouched. And reading settings is something which are very important. And I will take you to this in some time. We will come back to this. Let us have a look at the discussion settings. So what are discussion settings? Discussion settings are the settings which have a direct impact on the settings for, your users being able to comment on the post. So I'm just showing, going to show you a couple of settings which are the best practice according to what I have seen. So attempt to notify any blogs linked to from the post. I like to keep it on. This one is something I've kept off. And allow people to submit comments. Yes. Comment author must fill out name and email. Yes. They must be registered and logged into comment. It's a no. Automatically close comments not needed. Show comments, cookies. This is something which I have seen. If it's unchecked, it's better. Apart from that, yes, email me whenever. So on my personal blog as well, I have kept this option on because, my blog is also a growing blog. It's not like, hundreds of people are commenting on it right now. So what happens is I like it if the comment email is on so that anytime somebody comments, I can get an email and instantly I can see if I want to approve it, delete it, spam it, or whatever. So I like to keep these two options on. Just remember that always keep this on before a comment appears. There's manual approval so that you can go ahead and choose which comment will show and which comment will not show. And finally, keep this off because this means that until and unless somebody doesn't have a previous comment, they cannot comment on your website. So just see these options and go ahead and just save it. So I think we have seen the general settings, reading settings, and yes. Now I want to take you through some more basics where we step into something called posts and something called pages. There are two things. Let me open Digital Deepak's blog over here. And if you see, this is a blog wherein the home page is, a compilation of different blog posts. So all these are posts. When I show you the backend, you will understand better. And if you see the About Me section, that is a page. Similarly, if you also check out, my blog, you will see again, this is a compilation of different posts. And if you go to a page, like any of these things, this is actually a page. So that is the difference. But if you see, there are also, different websites which actually exists, which are not, they're not blogs, they are websites per se. So let's say we just visit, a random website and you just click on say Raymond.in. So if you see here, this is, not a blog. This is a specific homepage which they have set, right? So what's going to happen is I'm going to show you number one, how can you have the homepage, something like this, where if you click on home, it is a set of blogs, and how can you actually choose something which looks like this and not a blog page? So basically these two settings. So, and I'll also tell you what is the difference between a page and a post. So let's get into the details. So first of all, let's go ahead and publish a few pages. So let's go to pages and let us add some pages. So right now there's just, this home page that is there probably. So let us add a different page where we call it the home page specifically, and we just add the content like this is the home page. Yes. Now what we'll do is we will go ahead and just publish this. Now let us see, is it actually appearing on our blog? So you can see it is not appearing anywhere. Now, one important thing is that there is something called menu in WordPress. So what do we actually do, and how do we use menu? So we go to this option called appearance and we choose menus. Once we come here, there is, this option where we need to first of all create a menu. So let's give it a name called primary menu and let's create a menu here. Now what happens is the primary menu is what will appear on the top. So let's say I want to add the home page, which I just created, to the menu. And if I add it to my menu, and I'll also choose this option, automatically add new pages to this menu. Now I will save it. Now what happens is if we go back to our blog and just, refresh it, we will slowly, once, the entire process is saved. Let me see. Let me just save it once again. Okay. So let's give it some time, and, we'll probably come back to this later, because technically anytime we have, published a page, it should now start showing here. Okay. I forgot to choose that option called primary menu. So I think that is the reason why it was not showing. Yes. So as you can see, now it has started showing up on your menu. Now what happens is if we add any other page as well, like say home, and let's say, my second page is about us. So details about the company. Yeah. And we go ahead and publish it again. Now, if we come here and, again we refresh, now we can see that every time we are publishing a page, it is now coming on the menu. So if you don't have a menu, I mean, this is actually theme specific. Some themes will show it directly, but in this theme, we had to first put in a menu and only then it was visible. So that's what a page is basically. Okay. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm also going to add one more page, which we will call as the blog page. Because when you publish blogs, you want them also to, appear somewhere. So I'm just going to publish it and keep it for now. And you'll understand why, these are important as we go ahead. So that's pretty much about pages. Now let us look at posts. So what happens with posts is that anytime you want, posts like these, because if you see they are one after the other. So that's because these are posts and not pages. Pages cannot appear like that. So say for example, this is our first post and you will ideally write over here. Yeah, I'm just going to keep it very basic. And let's say we publish it. Now, if we go back to our website, you can see that the first blog post is appearing here, right? And obviously it will not appear here because this is just a page we have made. We have not, configured a website such that the blogs appear under that. So up next, that is exactly what we see. But before that, I just wanted you to know that this is how you write posts and, explore how you can add images and, there are a lot of other settings as well. So that's just the basic. Let me know if you have understood what a post is and what a page is up till this point. Brilliant. Great. So let me now take you back and let me take you to the setting which, we did not cover that time. That is the reading setting. And now this is very interesting. So just pay close attention. So if you see the reason that, the home page means the page wherein, you just visit the domain name. That is the home page. So at the home page, you should be thinking, hey, why is it not any other page but these blog posts that are appearing? And if you thought that, here's my answer for you. That if you see under reading settings, it says your home page displays your latest blogs. That is exactly why any blog post, that is why the blog posts are coming over here. So if you wanted a website like, Digital Deepak has or something like mine, wherein the home page is actually a compilation of blog posts, you would choose this option. But if you wanted a website like Raymond, wherein, your homepage is something else and, probably the blog is under a different section, in that case, what you would do is, first of all, as you see, I made the pages and, of course, you would go ahead, you would work on it, you would prepare it, same way. But you will leave your blog page empty. Just leave it as blogs. But for your home page, you will go and do the work. Because if you want something like Raymond, what you will do is you will choose that your home page displays a static page. And here you will choose the page which we named as the home page. So if you would have named the page as, XYZ, you would have chosen XYZ. So whichever page you set up and want when people first visit the website, that is your home page. And that is what you will choose over here. But how does the website now know that, hey, you will also be posting blogs? Where should they go? Which is why beforehand I created this blank page called blogs. And now we will tell WordPress that, hey, my posts page is the page which I titled as blogs. So now we will save the changes and now we will see what is the difference that if we just visit the main domain website, you can see that, now this is the home page. The title is gone. We can see the site title has come here. It's the site tagline that is appearing and the content has started appearing here. And if we actually go to the blogs page, now you can see the blogs have started appearing here. So let me know, guys, if you have understood the difference, if you just want a blog, what setting you need? If you want a website, what setting you need? So the reason I wanted to cover this was because in your assignment, you can choose to do anything. But tomorrow, if you ever want to do it for your client, if you want to do it for somebody else, if you want to do it for your own brand, here are the settings you need to keep in mind. Yep. And that's pretty much the basic. So yes, done. Okay, done. Menu done. Done. Great. Now, before we move ahead, there's an important notification I would like to tell you. So somebody's asking, how can we remove any blogs or how can we delete any pages? So all you need to do is go to posts, go to all posts, and, just any post that you don't want, click on it and, or, just like trash it. And that's it. It will disappear from your website. Like in one click, that's all it takes. Similarly for pages also, if you don't want a page, what you can do is you can just, just trash it. And this sample page which was there, which we didn't put in our menu anyway, it will be deleted. Now, another important thing is a privacy policy page. So you know that, going forward, you'll be running Facebook ads. So for running Facebook ads, it's very important that you have a privacy policy page. So you might as well go ahead and set it up right now. So how you can do that is WordPress gives you a privacy page generator. So go to settings, go to privacy, and just choose this, change your privacy policy page. Either there's an existing page you can use, or you can say create a new page. And then what happens is they give you a template. Now, obviously, you cannot use it as it is. You have to check that, these sections are incomplete. You need to add the data and you need to mention that what data you collect. If you don't know what to choose, you can just, search online for, free privacy policy generator. And if you just, check any of them, you can also take the content and you can publish it. So either you can just, use the default template given by WordPress, or, you can check out what these free service providers give you. And as per your requirement, just take the data collected and paste it back on your website. And once you have done it, publish it. Now, an important thing. Do you think that it looks good if, your privacy policy will be appearing here on your main menu? Have you ever seen that on any website ever? No, looks ugly, right? So how do you remove it? You will go back to your appearance and choose menus. And under menus, when you are in the primary menu, you're going to click here and you're going to click remove. This means that your privacy policy page is going to be there. It obviously exists because if you go to pages and you choose all pages and you click on, like, this is the page, right? And if you choose view, your page is there, which means if you ever need it, it exists. But it's just that we are not going to show it on our homepage because it is not required. And finally, the last setting I want to show you, which is very important, is your permalink setting. So right now, if we see, when we check our, say, About Us page, it says About Us. If we go to blogs, it says blogs. So why is that happening? That's happening because of something called permalink. So when it comes to permalink, it's always best that you go to settings, you go to permalinks, and you choose post name. So just save this as a default setting, and that is what will, help you choose the best permalink. And that's another setting I just wanted to um I wanted for you to know. So if you want other people to read your privacy policy, there's something called, the footer. You can look for the footer setting under your particular theme, and you can just add it in your footer saying that, our terms and privacy policy. Now, going forward, let's see. Yes. So now we will talk about something called the theme. So what is a theme? A theme is basically something which determines the, I would say, the look of your website. Yes. So once we have done that, now we will look at how we can actually go ahead and change a theme. So your theme will actually, come under your appearance. So as you know that you are going to get, let me know if my voice is clear. Right. So we go to appearance, themes, and here now there are two things. So as you know that you will be getting the Divi theme. So I know a lot of you guys have been asking me, when are you going to get the theme? So within, let's say in the next 2 weeks or something, just as before your program ends, for sure, we will give the theme to you. Right now, we want you to understand the basics, and then we want you to step into that. So don't worry. Very soon, probably max to max within the next 2 weeks, from the day of the Q&A, generally you will have your theme as well. So yes, that's what you will get. So when it comes to themes, actually there are two ways. WordPress itself has a repository of like a lot of free themes. So you click on add new, and if you see, you have these featured themes, you have something called popular, latest, favorites. If you click on feature filter, you can choose, theme categories based on the particular category as well. So if you want to look for themes for a blog, do that. If you want it for e-commerce websites, you can choose that. And once you do that, you can click on apply filters, and you will see that, for a blog, which are the suitable themes, and say that, you wanted something like, let's just take this, and we click on install. So once you have chosen a theme, of course you can preview it like this. You can install it, but you also need to activate it. So once you activate it, what happens is, when you now visit your website, the look and feel and the color and everything is going to change. So you can see that it completely changed right now, right? So that's how a theme actually changes the appearance. So you can see here the title is appearing, but with that theme it was not. So it really depends, and that's what a theme does. So this is about free themes which are given by WordPress. Now, after we give you Divi, say you want to install that, what you can do is you can click on add new, and you can click on upload theme. Then it will ask you to choose a file, and every time you want to upload a theme, you need to have it as a zipped file. So once you find it, just choose it and click on install now. So if you just click on install now, it will take some time and it will get activated. Now, what I have done is in this cheat sheet, I have given you the steps so that once we give you the theme, you can, check this. And I'll also try to make sure that I share a guide with you for installing Divi so that when you do it tomorrow, you will not face any issues. But to give you a quick overview, here's what you do. After we click on, this install now, what's going to happen is on the left side, you will see this additional option called Divi. Go there, go to theme options, and after that, go to this update section. And when we share the theme with you, we will also give you a username and an API key. So just enter those and click on save changes. What happens after that is anytime there are any updates, you will also get that in the theme for your lifetime, right? And finally, these are all the files we will give you. We will give you two themes actually, which is Divi and Extra, and we will give you 3 plugins. Shortly, I will tell you what plugins are. That's exactly when you will understand what these are. So we are giving you 3 plugins and 2 themes for your lifetime. And once I share the document, if you have more queries, you can always visit the Divi theme documentation. So yeah, that's pretty much about themes. And I've also shortlisted some decent themes which are out there in the market. Now, are we good to go till here? Just give me a quick GTG in the chat box if we are. Are you guys having fun? If you're having a lot of fun, turn on your caps lock and then type yes. If you're just having fun, type yes. Crazy, crazy. Awesome. So now let's talk about something called plugins. So if you've understood by now, themes are something which just change how the website looks, but plugins are things which, actually give more functionality to your website. Now, let me talk about basics of website that, when you talk about websites and, earlier when people wanted to build websites, they would have to add lines of coding. I'm sure all of you know that. But today we have something called WordPress. So all the coding is actually already done on the back end when, WordPress is made. So then your question should be, hey, I can't code. How do I add more features? That is when WordPress says that I give you something called plugins. So anytime you want more features on your website, you need to go to plugins. And that is where plugins come into the picture. So here is the plugins option. Excuse me, sorry. So here's the plugins option. And if we go here, you will see that there are a variety of plugins which are already installed based on where you choose your hosting from. And if you click on add new, here's where you can look for new plugins and install them. So first of all, let us go to so I know a lot of you had this question about SSL. So let's talk about SSL at this point. So what is an SSL? So if you see some websites just say HTTP, xyz.com or website.com. But some websites, if you see Digital Deepak's website, if you see my website, if you see the website we are setting up live, all of these have this padlock over here and they all say HTTPS, right? So this means that, this actually adds some encryption to your website so that it is, lesser prone to any kind of security risk. So that is why an SSL is very important, and never leave your website without an SSL certificate. How do you get just give me 1 second. I'll just get some water. Yeah. So how do you get an SSL certificate? A lot of times your domain service provider will give it to you for free. You can choose that. If sometimes it's a paid option, you can go for that. Otherwise, there's something called Cloudflare, right? Wherein, if you don't have it, you can get it from Cloudflare. And here's an article which actually guides you as to how you can install it for free. But more often than not, most service providers will give it to you for free, especially for the first year. So if you think that your service provider is not giving you, you can refer to this article, which I have linked over here. And now let's just understand that once you have your SSL certificate, okay, so as you would have seen in the live demo, the website automatically became HTTPS. But for some service providers, what happens is we have to redirect the website. We have to push it that, hey, go from HTTP to HTTPS. It will not go without that push. So to give that push such that a website goes from HTTP to HTTPS, there are two methods. One method is where you go to your cPanel and you edit your .301 ht access file and things like that. So that is very technical. So you would not want to touch or do that, which is what the manual setup and redirection is, which I'm talking about here. But there is something called a plugin which makes this process easier. So a point of disclaimer, this step will only be applicable after you have acquired an SSL certificate. So once you acquire it, you go and look for this plugin called Really Simple SSL. And for me, technically, it's of no use because it's automatically already redirected. But just in case your website shows HTTP, please install this. Click on Activate, but make sure you have purchased an SSL certificate. Now, if you go under settings, so your plugins appear in two places. Either they'll directly appear on the dashboard here, or you will need to go to settings, and under that there is something, all these plugins will start appearing. So you can see SSL is appearing here. So we will go there. We will click on go ahead, activate SSL. It will take us to the next screen. We will just say enable 301.ht access redirect, and we will click on save. So automatically, if your SSL was not getting redirected, in some time it will start. So that's all you need to know about, activating your SSL certificate. And if you would like to, start taking backups on your website of your website, so that in case something goes wrong, your website gets hacked, you lose your data, you can use a plugin. I won't go into the details, but I'll show you the name, which is, something called Updraft Plus. You can check this plugin out. You can install it, you can activate it, and, you can start backing up your website data as well. Now, finally, guys, we are at the last stage of setting up your website, wherein the basic setup of your website is over. But now we will go ahead and, get into the technical part of it. Who's excited for the final part as well? Brilliant. So let us now go into that. So first of all, what you need is that we are going to install an SEO plugin. You can choose anything from Yoast SEO, Rank Math, All-in-One SEO. Right now, I'm going ahead with, Yoast SEO, because that is something which, I have found useful. So just, it's a matter of personal preference, to be honest, more than anything else. So say, for instance, I install Yoast SEO and I'm also activating it. Now what happens is Yoast is appearing over here. So I'll just go to the general settings under Yoast. And right now I will not do anything here, honestly. I'll just show you that the reason I'm installing Yoast at this point is because we will, as we proceed, want something called XML sitemap. So just for that sake, install Yoast SEO as a plugin as well, or any other plugin which gives you the sitemap. So if you install, something like XML sitemaps, you can go ahead. Like, see, there are two things here. There are SEO plugins and there is a sitemap plugin. So Yoast is a plugin which has SEO as well as sitemaps together. If you choose something like all-in-one SEO pack, it will not have sitemaps integrated. So in that case, you will have to install a separate plugin called XML sitemaps. But since I have installed Yoast, I will not install XML sitemaps as a separate plugin, because if we have two plugins doing the same feature, they will clash and they will create an issue on our website. So just understand this much for now. Now what we will also do is I will also show you another plugin which is generally useful. So what really happens is a lot of times we need to add a lot of codes on our website. So for that, we need something so that we can edit the header of our website, because codes always go into, the header section more often than not. So I suggest and recommend this plugin called HFCM. I've seen good track, history and record of this plugin's performance. So this is what I would recommend. So these are some plugins you can install and keep. Now we are moving into the segment where we will go ahead and activate Search Console and Search Analytics. Whatever we had to do on WordPress is, done up till this point. Now we will go ahead with Console and Analytics. So what you need to do here is to understand that there are two ways in which you can install and activate your Analytics and Search Console. So the first way is by, using this plugin, which is powered by Google, which is the method I will be showing you on this call. There is a second method wherein, which is where HFCM for adding a code in the header part comes into the picture. If you would like to go ahead with that particular method, I am going to, share this link to the high traffic blog with you. And in the high traffic blog, when we were, setting it up, here when we had installed, just a second. So here when we had installed, our Search Console and Analytics, probably in our day number 6, here we had chosen, those manual methods. So if you would like to see the other method, you can refer to the high traffic blog. And if you, so that method is already there. I'll just show you the second method, which is by installing this plugin, which is known as SiteKit by Google. Now, two important heads up before you use SiteKit by Google, that, try to, so when whichever Google account you will be using, right? So yeah, whichever Google account you will be using, try to use that same Gmail account for logging into WordPress, number one. Number two, always do this after you have activated the HTTPS version of your website. And not just for this, for any time you want to set up your analytics and Search Console, always do it after your website is in the HTTPS version. So let's go ahead and start the setup. So here we'll be going ahead and actually activating our, Search Console and Analytics. So we need to first of all sign in with Google. So here you can see that I'm going to use my primary Google account, which I have used as, the admin account even on WordPress, which is kamnagen001@gmail.com. And just give it the requisite permissions, of course, otherwise it will not work. Just proceed to the next step. Again, it will ask us for some authorization, some verification, and some activation, and things like that. Let me know if my voice is clear. Okay, great, great. All right, and now we will choose add our website. So you can see that we have gone ahead and we have set up Search Console already. How do you check that? I will show you shortly. But let me tell you that Search Console is already activated. Now we will also activate Search Analytics. So we will click on Connect Service and we will choose our primary Gmail ID. We will give the permission. And as we go ahead, we'll just, do it step by step. And right now it's just, having the whole connection, configuration, and things like that. Now here, I would ideally prefer to set up a new account, and let's just name it as, let me just name it as something I have not named because there are too many test accounts which, have been created. So let's just call it, let's get a real in version, because this is the .in version. And yeah, just check that the country and time zone are correct and then click on create account. Now let us again, this will happen a couple of times, but nothing to panic. Just keep on giving the requisite permissions. So this process may take some time because it's a lot of configuration that happens on the back end. Now, again, very important step here. Remember to choose India. You have to click these, acceptance things. Otherwise, you will not be able to proceed. And yep, our analytics account is also set up. So how do you check that? You go ahead and make a Google search for Search Console. You make a Google search for Search Analytics. So we open Search Console, we open Analytics. We click on Start Now. So let's have a look at Search Console. So it might show you this screen, but you can go here. So if you see, this is my other Gmail account. So this is a problem which can happen with you also. This is my Pixel Track email ID, but I did it for kamnagen001@gmail.com. So from here, I will first of all, either sign in or choose my correct account. Now I will go on these three dots, three lines, search property, and here I will look for my website, which is letsgetreal.in. So you can see automatically it has been configured with my Search Console because of using SiteKit by Google. Now you can see Search Console is activated. Before we proceed, let us also check what is up with our analytics account, if everything has been set up properly or not. So we just chose the correct Gmail account as well. Now you will see that, it will show us some multiple accounts, whatever's logged in. So this is the one that we created. Let's get real in version. We click again here and we click here. Now, how do you test whether it is working or not? So the way to test that is you just, visit this website from, a different window. And I would say that, why don't you guys just quickly hit on the website, let's get real.in, and let us see if the number of active users increase or not. Because if they increase, that tells us that, hey, everything is okay. If it doesn't increase, it means that, okay, you need to go back and you need to check if everything is all right. So as you can see here that, the number of active users right now is increasing. This means that awesome, the code has been activated and it's working perfectly fine. What you can also do is when you're on your website, you can click on view page source and you can click on Control F and you can just search for SiteKit. Okay. So generally that's what happens if we use SiteKit earlier, this is what would show. Or let's see if the analytics ID shows by any chance. So at least this was there earlier. I'm not sure when this really changed. Let me check the head section because, the last time I checked, if we just used, our search console for actually, what's it called? For actually installing these codes, this comes, and technically it should, because I mean, it's coming in the header. So let me just check once again. Yeah. So we just refreshed the page and you can see that SiteKit by Google, right? And it again shows here that, Google Analytics opt-out added via SiteKit by Google. So this tells you that, okay, some data has been added. And if you use the first method wherein we add the code manually, you'll be able to, find your Google Analytics ID, which is, this UA18839. And ideally, more often than not, if you just search for that ID, if you use the first method, that ID will also be visible in your page source. This is just an extra check, but as long as, this active users is increasing, it means that it's working fine. Now, finally, there are a few things which I want to tell you about. But before that, let me know, are we all good till here? All okay, all great, all clear, all excited, exciting? Awesome. Let me also go back to the checklist. Okay, we did this method. Now we will talk about indexing the website. So what we will now do is there's something called indexing. So if you see, if I just click site, let's get real.in. Okay. If I just search for something called, this, okay, hold on. Yeah. So you can see there is no suggestion over here. But at the same time, if I search for something like kamnajain.com, it shows some results, which means the site has been indexed. So it's always important that we tell Google that, hey, please index my website. So how do you do that? You choose your domain name and you come to Search Console. You choose this search, you go to the search bar and you paste your website and you click on enter. So it will say that, URL is not on Google. So you tell Google, go ahead and, can you index it for me? So it will take some time, but this actually helps you in indexing your website. And how can you check if your website has been indexed? Of course, it will show here on your dashboard under URL inspection. But once it is done indexing, it takes some days. Then when you again check site and colon, and then for your website, ideally right now it will not show, but tomorrow it should start showing some results. So that's how you actually go and do something called indexing for your website. This is something which is very crucial, I would say. Now, finally, I also want to talk about the, XML sitemap bit, which we spoke about. So if we see under general, and so basically the agenda is you either use Yoast, you use XML sitemaps, but the point is that you get this link. So we go to XML sitemaps, click on this question mark, click on see the XML sitemap. We take this link, we copy it, we go back to Search Console, and there's a section which is known as sitemaps. So here we enter our sitemap URL. So we need to remove the first bit and we just click on submit. So sometimes it will show an error, sometimes it will not work, but right now it shows success, which means, okay, the sitemap has also been indexed. Now what a sitemap is, if I just have to tell you quickly, it's basically like, how index is for us, right? An index is a summary and, all the pages which we can see. That is for the human eyes. But sitemap is something which is for the search engines, where all the pages in your website are sort of, there in Google's, you can say, understanding, and they're like, okay, this exists. So which is why if you submit your sitemap, it actually helps. So right now for site search console, that's the basic understanding I would give you. For analytics, there is something which we do wherein we connect search console and analytics, because it's a good practice. And right now I'm going to show you that process, which will bring us to the end of this video, wherein your entire walkthrough will be over. So let's get to that without wasting any more time. So we go to Search Console, we click on landing pages, and here when we actually come, you will see this option which says set up Search Console data sharing. You choose that. And here when you actually scroll down, there's an option which says adjust Search Console. So you choose that, click on add, and you will see it redirects you. Choose the appropriate website. In this case, it's letsgetreal.in. So ideally, even if you don't, click on save, it works. But I've always clicked on save. So I've just, continued that as a practice. So you can see it redirected us. So we will again go back, and this time we will choose add a site to Google Search Console. So again, you will see that, it's redirecting us. So again, I will, keep my other account open, and, just sometimes you have a little bit of, back and forth, but majorly it's happening because, in my case, I'm logged into like a different Google account, and, I have like multiple Google accounts open. If you just have one Google account open, none of these things will actually come, and it will just be like a very smooth process for you. But anyway, you saw that, after it redirected me to Search Console, I came back to my analytics screen. And of course, you can just rewind and see that I just chose on save and add. And now, if I come back to the same option under landing pages, you can see that, there are some metrics that are being shown. Of course, there's no data because there's no activity on this website yet. But ideally, this means if you are seeing this particular line instead of, earlier it says add Search Console, this means that Search Console has been connected. And with that, we come to an end of the basics and the fundamentals of WordPress, which you need to keep in mind to get started. And of course, you can keep experimenting. There is no end, you can keep going on as to what you can experiment with, what you can try, and tons of things that you can do. But this is pretty much it. And yeah, looks like everything is covered. Let me check the cheat sheet also. And yes, good point that I remembered here is it's also a good practice that you saw that we went ahead and indexed our website. What we can also do, what we should also do is that, anytime we have any other blog posts, all our pages, we should also choose those. And, so say our about us page, our blogs page, our blog posts, we should open them. We should take the link. We should go back to Search Console. We should also index them. Like in the process is the same. What this does is it actually, makes it a little easier for us, for our website to really get listed. So that's pretty much it, guys. And yes, talking about Hotjar, I just want to tell you it's a very simple process. I'm not going to go into the details, but I'll just give you a quick overview that if you want to do it, you just need to, go to hotjar.com, and there's a plugin which is called the Hotjar official plugin. You need to install that. Just give me a moment. Yeah, there's something called the Hotjar official plugin as well. And if you actually install and activate it, so once you activate it under settings, it will get activated and it will show as Hotjar. And when you actually create a new Hotjar account, I signed up with some IDs. Let me see if I can just choose something else randomly. Yeah, so it's just signing me in. And what really happens is if you go under your sites and organizations, and here, like this is something which I had done for a different website, but say you want to add a new website, you click on new site, add your website here. But anyway, I mean, it's a very simple process. So once you have done that setup, it's basically all you need is that particular code, this particular code, wherever you get it. You come back to your Hotjar plugin, you add it here and you save changes. Then what will happen is it will take some time. And if you click on, there'll be a verify your installation option. Right now, I don't know if it will take it because I've already installed it somewhere. It's working, but it will not really work. You need to click here to verify your install. It will throw an error right now. Okay, that's really surprising because, this I've already activated it somewhere else. I don't know why it's getting accepted here. But anyway, if you see this particular pop-up after you click on verify or install, it will mean that your Hotjar installation has been activated. But anyhow, I have given you this blog link and a YouTube video as to how you can go ahead and really start using your Hotjar per se. So how do you install it? From this section onwards, they will have a step-by-step guide, very simple. So, and yes, if you ever want to deactivate any plugin, you need to go to install plugins. And if you just click on deactivate, right, what happens is that plugin stops working, but it is still there on your dashboard. It will not work, but deactivate still means the same thing. If you don't want it at all, you can just delete it. So that's pretty much about this session, guys. I hope this was helpful. And this gives you, this equips you with the requisite resources and knowledge and information that you need to know for getting started with WordPress.